So this is a build planner that somebody just posted in Twitch chat. They wanted some feedback on it. And we are going to go... Wow, that's a lot of life. Holy crap, that's a lot of life. So we're going to go through this build planner and give some feedback to how we think this person could make their build more synergistic. It seems like it's going in a couple different directions. We want to make sure that our damage is being scaled as well as possible. Our defense is being scaled as well as possible. And then maybe we want to find out why we have 4,425 life. First things first, we know that this is a Fizz crit swipe build. We have some Fury Leap with some vines down here on the bottom right. We have Maelstrom spec'd for damage, and then for some extra physical damage per stack. Some extra damage nodes here, some duration. There we go. We are proccing Maelstrom, presumably off of Warcry, these nodes over here. Also getting some attack speed. There we go. And then we have Ice Thorns, which is probably only being cast when things hit us. And then it's spec'd for additional Thorns and extra projectiles, spell physical damage, minus duration. So just hitting more stuff. Got it. Let's take a look at the skill tree. Before we give feedback on a build, we want to make sure that we go through the entire thing so we know what's going on. We have a bunch of health, we're dual wielding, strength, and some less damage taken on low health. Good. 0 points in Shaman. A couple very normal looking points in Beastmaster, just reduced duration, or sorry, reduced damage taken, and then proccing primal strength on melee hit. Let's swap 1 point real quick. We're gonna drop 1 point here. Let's put this into damage reduction, drop 1 point of health, and then we'll put this point back. Alright, so what's going on in Druid? We have Druid endurance points, life gain on spell cast. We're probably not casting spells that often. Percent increased physical damage. Okay. It's kind of a low reward for speccing into this. 7% increased damage is like, it's kind of the baseline. Like 6%, 5%, it's pretty bad. 7's kind of usual. And if something's like 10% increased damage, then generally speaking, you're pretty happy to spec into it. This thing we have attack and cast speed, sure. We have some strength and additional armor for speccing to strength because we're in human form the whole time. We have no attunement points, but we do have plus melee physical damage, so flat damage there. Less damage over time taken while in human form, cool. And then a bunch of increased critical strike chance, but we're not making use of the rage at all. So this is 15% increased crit chance per point, gotcha. Let's take a look at the gear as well so we know like what the important prefixes are. If we ever look at a one-handed sword, or for some reason this website's not rendering, but we have this one-handed axe over here as well, which has the 4% increased crit, or 4% crit strike chance implicit. We know what most of the gear should look like. So the most important stuff here for me would be like helmet, body armor, and relic, because that's where you can have class-specific modifiers. So for the helmet, we have percent increased melee damage, vitality armor, cool. Not spicy, not particularly interesting, but it's there. 50% increased damage. For the chest piece, we have res on the chest piece, which I'm not really a fan of. I don't think we want res as a suffix on the chest piece. We'd rather just have life there. And then we also have melee damage there. And then for the relic, we have crit multi and physical damage. So we don't have plus levels to anything. We don't have any spicy affixes anywhere. It's basically just like percent increased damage, percent increased damage, percent increased damage. And percent increased damage is fine, but it's really nothing interesting. Up here we have critical strike chance, which we probably don't need. I think we have a ton of critical strike chance already. And then percent increased physical damage. If we're a crit build, our amulet is a big slot for us to get crit multis. We probably want crit multi there. We have void res on our belt. Can we fix the belt real quick? We're at 4,400 life. Let's go ahead and fix this. This is an easy thing to talk about. Our belt on every single character should probably look the same. We want like, tier 5 hybrid, tier 5%, something along those lines. We don't have any aspect of the shark. If we're going to go a Fizz crit build, I think not going aspect of the shark is a mistake. Because we have a lot of points that are not really spec'd into anything. This is like a level 10 character that happens to be level 100. You know what I mean? Like, we have a bunch of life, we have our resistances, we have attack speed, we have damage, but like we don't really have anything else. There's no spice, there's no like synergy going on in the build. We're not taking advantage of anything. We're just hitting things and we're hitting them fast. So the couple things that jump out to me are I don't see a good use of our 5 skills up here. I don't see Aspect of the Shark. And I don't see I don't see like ways of scaling our damage beyond just hitting things and then hitting things faster. So here are the couple things that jump out to me. One is Aspect of the Shark. So let's go read it real fast, right? Aspect of the Shark is this guy right here, right? So every 5 seconds, your next melee attack deals physical damage and grants Aspect of the Shark. It's a buff that grants 75% increased damage, melee damage, and increases your melee attack speed by 10%. So if we spec into these sorts of things, then all that 75% increased damage, it really makes these implicit modifiers look weak, right? Like we have rings. Rings are great. There's a good place to have prefixes there because you can't really get other prefixes on your rings, but you can get so much physical damage. You can get so much % increased critical strike chance, if you need it, on your rings. Why are we using a prefix modifier on a helmet, which is a big opportunity cost, instead of just speccing into things like this instead? So I need to free up a couple points. So I'm going to free up points by clicking on these couple things. Into Beastmaster, we're talking about this. These other nodes give us other bonuses for speccing to Aspect of the Shark, and then there's nodes here as well that we might be interested in. So this Aspect of the Shark also grants attacks and spells a chance to reduce enemy armor, so we get Armor Shred as well. It's great. So that seems like a good place to be. We're not a Beastmaster, so we can't take advantage of these points here, but having this going on does seem pretty good for us. Again, this is one of those things with like, you know, maybe you want to reconsider, maybe you want to spec more into Aspect of the Shark, and maybe you just would rather be a Beastmaster for this build instead of being a Druid. Because like, what do you get for being a Druid? It's like, realistically, Werebear, but you're not using Werebear. So for Swipe, let's take a look at the Swipe skill tree. If we want Swipe to be our primary source of damage, I kind of like this Wild Calling node. It gives you like some extra AoE. It helps you hit a bigger pack of enemies in front of you. And that's one of the things that I've always complained about when I'm playing Swipe. It just doesn't feel like it hits enough stuff. So this kind of node over here, I'm a big fan of. You have 4/4 for the crit multi. The global increased critical strike chance. I like that. 2 points, 4 points. Alright. So if we could get more levels to Swipe, if we had like plus levels to Swipe somewhere, where can we get Swipe? Let's go take a look at helmets real quick. I actually think Swipe might be down here. Crit multi, physical damage. There's Swipe. There it is. So you currently have 40 to 60 physical damage as your tier 5 modifier. Instead of 40 to 60, what if we had 40 to 60 and also +2 to level of Swipe? Basically no opportunity cost to swap this over. Let's pretend like we're going to have tier 6 Swipe. Let's go to Warcry next. So for Warcry, using Warcry in order to proc Whirlpool here, you are a Fizz crit build, and you're scaling attack speed and crit multi and things that hit, right? If we're hitting things, then Maelstrom is not going to be dealing much damage. We have 4 points here and then 5 points in the Gathering Storm, but the opportunity cost of speccing into all of those points, which is 5 plus 3, 8 points, it's huge. It's so many points just to make this thing happen. Instead of converting this to physical damage, I guess we could convert it to physical damage. The only issue with converting this to physical damage, like you get % increased Fizz, and you're a Fizz build, but we don't get to chill things anymore. And chill is a lot stronger than slowing things. So in general, I don't really like this node over here, but we'll see what we can do with it, okay? Instead of trying to make Maelstrom itself deal damage, let's get a bigger payoff for proccing it off of Warcry. So what we could do is we could proc Warcry twice as often. If we trimmed some of these nodes, see, Berserk has extra duration, that doesn't really matter. Maybe we put 2 points here, let's see, 1 here, 1 here. Let's cleanse this. Where's the cleanse? Cleanses ailments on here. So one thing that I like to do is take Warcry, and sometimes I just numlock it as well, but we could take it, and just with a couple points, we can come over here to Shallow Breath, which halves the cooldown on it, but it says, you know, no stun, freeze, or fear. So it's going to make your mana worse, because you're going to be Warcrying twice as often, but it also means you have more uptime on the invulnerability from Juggernaut, on the cleanse, on the heal, and also you're getting more stacks of Maelstrom here. So by stretching our mana, by stretching the cooldown like this, we don't need the Gathering Storm here in Maelstrom. Instead, what we could do, and what I'm going to recommend to you, is maybe come down here for like extra chance to chill enemies, or maybe even like these heal nodes here. So that's one possibility. If you didn't want the chill and the heal, you could also spec into things like this, which give you like additional hits. And hits are nice because they can proc ailments. Ailments like chance to shred armor on hit, or chance to shred armor on hit, or chance to shred armor on hit. Oh, you don't have chill anyway. Alright, so maybe we want chill. Maybe we want chill. Chill is really strong. Every single build in the game wants chill. Chill is just generically very strong. I'm such a big fan of chill. I'm gonna leave it like this. Alright, so for Warcry, we have one more point. The other important nodes that you should know about are maybe the crit node up here, increased critical strike chance for 4 seconds when you've done this, which is permanent uptime with shallow breath, and then maybe even the crit chance nodes all the way over here. So those are going to be hard to get to because we're already kind of stretched thin, because we have 3 points down here in Fury Strikes, which I kind of like. So you could, if we got one additional point, maybe we can get the battle cry for the crit chance. But honestly, what you might prefer is just like putting more points into the healing nodes, just so you get like a nice burst of healing. If you have 2 points here, we can grab some mana efficiency. This mana efficiency helps out a little bit. It's a possibility. But the biggest chunk of your mana drain when you're like numlocking Warcry using the Shallow Breath node and the mana, and the Maelstrom over here, is just the fact that you proc a Maelstrom all the time. So this node's fine. It's okay. But really, these last 2 points are kind of up to you. For Ice Thorns, you, again, like you are a melee, crit, attack speed build. So trying to take Ice Thorns and make it deal damage is not great. It doesn't really do anything. So what we could do instead is we could take this and just get a bunch of armor from it. And this is fine, right? Other possibilities for what you could use, because right now, Fury Leap and Ice Thorns aren't really doing anything for you. They're fine at best, but they're not particularly strong. They're just kind of giving you some armor, and Fury Leap gives you... And Fury Leap's here. We have to ask ourselves, like, what else could we use instead if we wanted to use an alternative, right? So some possibilities. We have Summon Spriggan. Summon Spriggan could give us a bunch of crit avoid and a bunch of crit. So this Aura of Retribution is one of the strongest nodes that's been introduced, right? This is a 4-point node, so it's 8 base critical strike chance, along with like 72 crit avoidance, which helps the rest of your gearing very easily, right? So maybe you want to be a Summon Spriggan build and just have the pet following you around, giving you a bunch of buffs. That's a possibility. Other possibilities might be like speccing into Thorn Totem. Thorn Totem has a node over here that might be of use to you. This is something that says Thorn Totems have a chance to reduce enemy armor on hit, and then you could proc a Thorn Totem by getting a idol that says you have a chance on hit to summon a Thorn Totem. If you did that, you could also come into the Shaman skill tree and get this node here, which tends to be pretty high value. This is 25% increased attack speed spread over 5 points. So it's 5% increased attack speed per point. Let's see, we talked about the mastery. We made some changes there. We talked about some of the big things that stood out to us as like what we wanted to make more synergistic in the build. We talked about Warcry and Maelstrom. We talked about things that you could use for your last slot, whether you want to have Summon Spriggan, Spriggan Form, Thorn Totem, Etero's Blessing, were 4 like utility skills that we talked about you might want to include. One of the last things we could talk about is what else we can put on our prefixes and suffixes, or specifically, what else we can put on our prefixes of our helmet, body armor, and relic, because that's where class-specific affixes come from. Let's go ahead and click on your helmet here. Let's go to prefix. And the shared melee damage, it's such low value. Like, it's fine, it technically helps, but like, there's gotta be something spicier, right? Where's the spicy stuff at? Crop Multi well transformed, that doesn't help us because we're not transforming. Aspect of the board duration, Link Shark, aspect of the Shark effect. Remember, Shark effect by default is 75% increased melee damage and 10% increased attack speed. So maybe aspect of the Shark effect could be interesting to you. It's a possibility. Cooldown recovery speed, nah, not really. Summon Bear, Summon Spriggan. I'm gonna give you aspect of the Shark effect because I think it's kind of spicy. That might be something that you want to consider. You have a crit avoid blessing, Fizz Shred, I like that. But fire resistance, all right, we're gonna change fire resistance. You do not need that much fire resistance. I'm gonna give you the endurance blessing like this, because that's gonna boost your endurance from, what was it, like 27? Or it was like 30, 35 or something? Yeah, we're just gonna give you a nice 55% endurance from having a nice blessing there. All right, let's go look at your chest piece, Because your chest piece, once again, it has this shared increased melee damage. And we're going to see if we can find something spicier for you. So let's scroll on up to the top. Let's see what we can find. Armor, armor, armor. Let's see. These prefixes are kind of boring. But Aspect of the Shark is probably better. God, maybe Strength is better. We don't want to have any resistance on our chest piece. We would like to have, like, armor, or percent armor, or realistically, just health and percent health. If there were any slot for us to skip out on health, rings would be a nice place for that. I'm going to take one of your rings and just swap the health over to being Fizz. Fury Leap was something that we called out earlier on as, like, not being particularly high value. So, one of the nice things about having these skills that you proc, like Spriggan Form, so if you chose to do this, or remember we replaced Ice Thorns with this, you don't need to have Ice Thorns on your bar, you don't need to have Spriggan Form on your bar in order for it to be procced. So we could have like an unspec'd Fury Leap. What if we spec'd into... So that gives us 25% increased attack speed. Then it also gives us access to speccing into Tornado. If we did Tornado, we could do something like this, which would have it cast on top of our head, Eye of the Storm, and then we could use Aspect of the Storm over here in order to get a bunch of buffs. So we can have increased attack speed over here, maybe we can make this thing last longer, and then give us some mana efficiency as well, so it's not too much of a pain. Using something like this, in order to like, you know, you would basically be numlocking Warcry and Tornado at this point, and then Warcry is proccing Maelstrom for you, Spriggan is being procced whenever you hit, and you are just going to like Leap Slam with an unspec'd Leap Slam into a pack of enemies, and then just swipe. So that's kind of the outline of what we're doing here. This is kind of looking good. It's looking a bit more synergistic than it was a moment ago. We haven't really talked about idols yet. I actually don't like browsing idols on this website. I find it a little bit tedious. So what I'm going to do instead is go over here. I actually prefer the in-game menu here for browsing for affixes. So what I do, because I don't have a perfect knowledge of everything, is I look for affixes in here, and then I'll jump over to the item database, and then I'll look up whatever I find in game to see whether it's on a 1x2 or a 2x1 or 4x7, that kind of thing. So that's my method for it. If you have a better knowledge of all things related to Last Epoch, just do it however you like doing it. So let's scroll through this list of primalist idols, and let's see if there's anything in here that really catches our eye, okay? Chance on hit to summon a Thorn Totem is a possibility. If you wanted to include a totem in your build, you don't even need to spec into Thorn Totem. But remember, from your mastery here, I'm recommending taking this Totemic Fury node, which says increase attack speed while you have an active totem. So an easy way of getting an active totem is to have one little idol that says chance on hit to summon a Thorn Totem. So maybe that's something that interests you as well. We have Shark Effect. Remember, Shark Effect by default is 75% melee damage and 10% attack speed. So this is pretty good. Something like Boar Effect. Increased Boar Effect gives you increased effective damage reduction, which is very, very strong. This would be a great thing for your build. So what I would recommend for you is looking up those handful of affixes, seeing whether they're on 2x2s or 4x5s or 1x1s, and finding out what configuration of idols you'd like to put into your build. In any case, I think that about does it. It's a little bit longer than I thought it was going to be. We'll trim this down, pop it up on YouTube as well, because I think just like looking at builds like this and finding out what we would prefer to have on our items in terms of like an opportunity cost, or making sure that all our damage is focused in one direction, or trying to make the most of our utility skills up here. I think that's useful information that a lot of people would enjoy looking at.